All right, guys, we are live before 4 p.m. here in Finland. All right, guys, we are live before 4 p.m. here in Finland. And I got a round and round loop there for sound, which I can take down. So today's stream is called In the Studio. It's my Monday stream, and for you guys on Instagram live right now, I am not going to be streaming the whole thing here on Instagram, just this beginning, and showing you a little bit of my studio here. It's just that's where the magic happens. And if you want to see how I make music and how I specifically made a track called Look Away with my buddy Sebastian Raymond for representing Finland in the Eurovision Song Contest in 2019, you should tune into twitch.tv/Darude now. I am already live there, but I'm gonna start showing what's up, how the track came about, and then there's also this cool giveaway that I'm doing with Cableguys, plugin manufacturing company, who are amazing, and I use particularly one plug of theirs quite a lot. So twitch.tv/Darude. Put that in your browser or jump on your Twitch app on your iPhone, your other smartphone, or say your Apple TV. They have an app there. And I think we're about to hit go live on the camera here. Seems people are getting online on Twitch already, so that's good. And we have 4 p.m. so hello Twitch. And you guys on, wow, there's so many of you, nice. And thanks for the nice comments. Switch to Twitch, exactly. Time3 has it right. Twitch.tv/Darude. I'm gonna say bye to you lovely people who came and waved at me right now. And I appreciate you all very much. Thanks for joining the Instagram live, but we are going to jump fully on Twitch from here on, and see you there. Twitch.tv/Darude. Bye. All right, and then before we continue, I'm gonna see if I could really quickly send a message. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my goodness. All right, so now I'm here, and I apologize for that. So this is Darude, this is In the Studio, and today I am going to do a little breakdown of my track Look Away with my brother Sebastian Raymond. It was our selected track to represent Finland in a Eurovision Song Contest in 2019. We made 3 tracks, Release Me, Superman and Look Away. And Look Away won the national vote. And that's what we went to Tel Aviv with last year. And I am going to be showing you how it was done, or what's in the track, and tell you whatever you want to know about it. And I'm going to have to squeeze the chat down on the other screen so I can see it better. Here we are. Okay, so you guys voted, I don't remember, 80 or 100 or so of you, and 61.3% of you want to see Look Away. So here it is. And Ranta was one of the tracks, and My Game was the third one that were options for this week. All right. So we started making the track in the fall of 2018. Once I was invited and selected to be the Finnish rep, and I took that job on. I was looking for tracks for a month or so, went through all my demos, and then asked for my trusted producers and writers to submit some tracks for me as well. And one of those songs was Sebastian's song called Look Away. And we are going to hear some of the original demo that I heard right now. And oh, by the way, why don't I just show this angle too? And I'm still on sort of with that camera only. I can't do screen capturing right now. I'm not going to go too much more into that, but I have the camera positioned so that you can see what's happening on the screen regardless, while it's not exactly as good as actual screen capture. This should show you quite well what's going on. So Sebu's track, he wrote the initial lyrics and most of the song as well after he was on a trip to India and he saw some of the stuff that is going on, you know, poverty and whatnot, not only in India but all around the world, and that triggered him to just think about all kinds of life stuff. And I think the main thing in the lyrics is that whatever the hardship is that we have in our lives, we easily look away because it's easier than doing something about it, whether it's our something big or small in our own lives or whether it's globally. And it was an interesting thing to do for the Eurovision Song Contest because those songs need to be non-political, but then we wanted to have some sort of a message, and this is sort of a perfect message, kind of like we all are responsible for the earth and we all have to do our part to, you know, make the right decisions for ourselves if something's wrong, to change it, and also in a global scale if we want to do and leave, you know, the better world for our kids and so on, then we need to actually do something and not just to look away. But it was an interesting thing and really cool and fun thing and challenging thing to create a dance record with said sort of message, so that it wasn't finger pointing, or the dance record itself, it wasn't too, I don't know, too deep or something like that. And then also Sebu's original song was not exactly a dance record. It was kind of bare bones, some piano and guitar.
There's something you should know, that I can't sing a love song anymore. There's something going on, and I can't turn my back on it anymore. Tried so hard to stand behind this master plan, but I couldn't be that man. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds when we know what's going on with the world today? Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Well, the war has just begun. We look away, look away.
All right, so this is
Look away, hey, look away, look away.
that's the original demo that I got, and the lyrics are pretty much nailed. There's one part that we actually dropped. It was sort of a pre-bridge or pre-chorus, and then the track really doesn't get much more energy. And I don't say that dissingly, I just say that you know, this wasn't my kind of thing, but I really loved the track basically from the first hearing.
I don't understand.
So in the end we have drums and bass, but it's more like a rock ballad type of thing, or I don't know what you would call that, but either way, I found myself singing to the main hook and whatnot when I first heard it. And then while there were two other tracks, Superman and Release Me, I was so happy that Sebastian was willing to do those two songs with me as well. But then in the end it ended up so that this was the one that was chosen, and so we both were feeling 100% behind the whole thing, and it was amazing to be able to represent Finland with this one. Okay, Nick Wax is here. Hey, now the chat is safe. So what I first wanted to do, I needed to edit the song and arrange it so that it would fit the format of 3 minutes tops on Eurovision Song Contest. And it sometimes, I think, has been different. It changes maybe year to year, and they can tighten the rules or loosen them. And and one of the things that is obviously Eurovision Song Contest, it's about the song, both the singing part of it and then the actual song melodically and lyrically, that is important. So a lot of people ask me, like, why didn't I take part in it with an instrumental? Or why didn't I just use a vocal sample and that's that? But it didn't make sense for me to go take part in that sort of a traditional song contest, very traditional in Europe, and kind of try to take a piss, you know? So then we decided that we did 3 full vocal songs, and one of them was quite different. Release Me was sort of not exactly Darude sounding, although there's several things that are mine style-wise and sound-wise, but it's more of a sort of a pop kind of cross with some, I don't want to say dubstep because that takes you the wrong direction, but like breaksy, dubsteppy sounds and whatnot. And then Superman was very close to sort of my old stuff with some of old sounds as well, and sort of style-wise closest there. So after I got Sebu's the initial vocal idea and the demo track sort of sorted out into 3 minutes, it actually became very close to sort of pop format, where you start with piano or some pads and very bare sort of vocal first, and then I built it to sort of normal electronic build up and drop. And so why don't we just listen to this first? And one thing that I need to say, not apologizing for it because that's how this stuff goes, but this doesn't sound actually as compressed as finalized here. because the way I did this is that you see the whole arrangement right now as sort of the live project with separate parts. After this, when I got the track actually fully done, I bounced the different stems, so you see different colors here. You could, you know, vocals are one stem and effects one, and drums are the blue stuff there, and the bass one, the brown stuff. And I bounced those, and then the final mix and the final master was done of that stem project, where some stuff was still widened, some stuff was still EQ'd more to the surface. There's a little bit more vocal reverb and delay in the final one and whatnot, but I can quickly show that one after this as well. Cool. So let's see.
There's something you should know. I can sing a love song anymore. There's something going on, and I can't turn my back on it anymore. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds when we know what's going on with the world today? Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Where the war has just begun. We look away, look away, look away, look away, hey, look away, look away, look away, look away. Is it in my head? Is it in my head? Look away, hey, no.
I know, Ziri, they're not in sync.
There's something in
Gonna be fixed soon.
night that feels so different, and I don't understand. I didn't see this one coming. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds when we know what's going on with the world today? Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Where the war has just begun. We look away, look away, look away, look away, hey, look away, look away, look away, look away. Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Where the war has just begun. We look away, look away, look away, look away, hey, look away, look away, look away, look away, hey, no.
All right, so that is Look Away. Ziri's, well, Eurovision Song Contest is about so many things, and definitely non-political and still full of politics of all kind. Yes, absolutely. It's, of course, in the current format, a lot about the performance as well. And I mean, for instance, that's why we had certain type of visuals and certain type of elements that we did. We basically had Mother Earth, so to say, on our stage, and our gorgeous and talented dancer Ethel doing that thing. The only unfortunate thing about her performance was, not her performance, but the thing is that we had a different thing that we did in the Finnish final, where Look Away was chosen to be the representing song, and then because of some limitations on a Eurovision stage, we couldn't do the same setup there. So I think it's fair to say that after the, after all, it felt sort of, although the stage was much bigger and different at the Eurovision Song Contest in Tel Aviv, but we couldn't bring our big box that was sort of our highlight of the show in the Finnish version. So I don't know if that would have helped me in a contest itself, but it felt for a while a little bit of a letdown. But then at the same time, all the visuals and all the new things that we could do in Tel Aviv were definitely covering for it. And you're absolutely correct. The show means a lot. And also the key factor there is that people are singing live. And so I had background singers supporting Sebastian, singing harmonies and doubles and whatnot. And it's a really, really, people think it's a very cheesy concept and contest, and in a way it is, but I was so happy to take part of it, and I was so happy to see the whole process, how that works. And obviously there's, with today's, the songs come out several months, couple of months before the actual show, and there's promotions going on and whatnot, so all that affects also in the outcome of the contest as well. But so, what was, I've written myself some notes here. So this was, this happened fall 2018 and early 2019. We got the track done by January 2019, and it was mastered, and the music video, or videos for all three tracks were done early January 2019. And the mastering for the actual final release was done by Henkka Niemistö at Chartmakers here in Helsinki. And so Sebastian wrote the original song. I produced it to the now heard sort of, a dance music format, I guess you would say. Petri Alanko helped us out on all of the three tracks. He's aka Lowland, and he recorded these vocals at his studio in Helsinki, or near Helsinki as well. And then I put it all together. I used my laptop, which is a 2018 MacBook Pro. I used these Genelec monitors that I have here. They are 8351s, and I used my Nektartech Panorama keyboard and my tiny little MIDI keyboard, the CMEX Key Air, when I was on the road and was working on this. And then I used Logic synths, Logic Pro synths, EEST and EXS24 sampler, and I use a lot of the channel EQ on Logic, a lot of Logic tape delay, and a lot of Logic stereo delay as well. And I just did a little bit of counting. There is about 6 silent synths here, 6 Spire instances, 1 Discovery Pro, 1 Nexus, and at that time it was Nexus 2, but now you have Nexus 3. And then 4 massive instances, and I think those were the synths that I was using. And I can go through of those sounds a little bit in a sec. And then a lot of my delays are Waves H delay, and on the vocals I was using JJP Vocals plugin, and it's actually, I've used that before as well, but I've actually recently used more Nektar 3 for vocal processing. But because when Petri was tracking the vocals, and he did like a quick mix on the fly so that he could feel the stuff better and demo it to how they sounded to Sebastian and whatnot, so I actually kept what he had used. There's Vocal Writer on the vocal channels, and then of Waves I used Center, which on some tracks I took center stuff out more so as to make it more stereo, wider, or some tracks I narrowed the sort of stereo field a little bit. Depends on track and usage. I like Waves R Verb, which is an old reverb, and I don't know if it sounds particularly great, but it has a great use for me. It has a wet dry knob, not wet and dry separately. So I use it for reverb washes usually. So I take a sound and towards a build-up I add more and more reverb when it just gets wetter and wetter and more hazy or bigger or whatever the reverb happens to be sounding at that, you know, in that instance. That's what I use it for a lot. On Waves I use stereo S1 imager, which is stereo imager. On one or two of the bass channels have R bass, and then C6 by Waves is a multiband compressor that I used at least on a couple of buses to sort of make room for the vocal. So I often put it on a synth bus, pads, some bass if bass has a lot of mid and vocal clashing content, and I make it duck some of the frequencies, a couple of dBs where the vocals should cut through, so it just makes room for the vocal a little bit. And one of my favorite reverb units is Valhalla Vintage Verb. I use that on pretty much all my tracks. And then there's Native Instruments Transient Master on kick and some other sounds, just to add, basically, I'm adding a little bit of tick on a kick or snare or similar percussive sounds. And then one plugin, or one type of plugin that I use a lot, but especially by Shaperbox or Cableguys, I use Shaperbox and earlier Volume Shaper, which is a LFO type of plugin or envelope type of plugin where you can draw volume envelopes and all kinds of other envelopes for your sounds, and it just basically you can select if you use it on 1 bar or 1/8 or 1/4 or whatever, and then you can draw a curve, and basically your volume ducks how that curve is drawn, so it's automatically doing good stuff for you, you know. And I have a little video after this breakdown how I use the Shaperbox, and the Cableguys have been gracious enough, and they are actually giving out a couple of those Shaperbox bundles, and I'm going to be giving them away to those of you who join my Discord now or in the next day or two. I guess I could do that, and I'll throw in the Discord link somewhere at some point soon. So what else? The number of tracks this track has, or project has, about 130, but so various tracks probably 120 or so, and that's actually quite a lot for me, and that was challenging for the mixing stuff. I try to actually steer away from that many tracks, but sometimes it just is mandatory. And I mean, I don't know how you guys make your music, but I tend to toss too much on, and then I start taking stuff down, and then it's sort of elimination process, because it's very easy for me to try, and I kind of, you know, it's, you know, the thinking more is more, but it's definitely not like that. It's it just makes things kind of messy, and if you have good parts, you don't necessarily need a million different parts. But why there's a lot of tracks is that I layer a lot of stuff. So you know, I have, for instance, three sub basses, but they're not all sub in the low sub-frequencies, but they do different things. I have 3 other basses that are doing the same ARP, basically, or same rhythmic pattern, supporting each other, and so on and so on. So they are not all the different kinds of things that just add mess. So I guess we could start from the beginning, and I can go through the vocal first, and we have Sebastian's lead vocal that is doubled.
There's something you should know. I can't sing a love song anymore. There's something going on, and I can't turn my back on it anymore. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds when we know what's going on? With
Now there's some harmonies.
today, is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Where the war has just begun. We look away, look away, look away, look away, look away, look away, look away. Is it in my head?
Quinn, it's okay.
Is it in my head? Look away, no.
Yeah, so the Discord, please go to the welcome page and just intro yourself. And yes, I'm gonna take a look at who's already there as well, of course. Don't sweat. And the Discord thing, I think I'm gonna give away 3 bundles for the Shaperbox 2 today, and I'll do that. I'll show a video, and I'll put the Discord link towards the end of the stream after we've gone through this. What was pretty interesting about this, you can see these sort of cutouts of the vocals, and I decided to go manually between every longer gap where Sebastian is breathing hard. And I just cut them out on a separate track, and I made them 6 to 12 dBs quieter because there's compressor on, and the compressor picks up those breaths, and it sounded like Darth Vader in many spots, like, is it in my head and whatnot. So that was quite a lot of manual work, and there are plugins that can do that, but I could not just there's wave stuff, and there's a couple of other things that you can use to do that, but I couldn't make them work reliably all through the track, probably because some vocal bits or the breaths were really loud, some of them were not so loud, and some of them had more like low end content and whatnot, and so it was hard to do that other than just going in and manually, basically. So the thing that I did, I just cut them out, put them on another track, and just turned the gain, clip gain down. Simple as that. And there's a lot of them throughout the song, so it took a little while to do that. And then there's basically a lead vocal, lead double, and then I've also, this was actually something that came from Petri this time. I used a little, how can I say, varied original lead that was just sort of time and pitch messed with on, I think he uses actually Revoice Pro, but I use Melodyne for that. So I made it a little human and so the doubles actually are the same, or well, one of the doubles is the same as the original vocal, but it's made a little different pitch-wise randomly and time-wise, so it sort of adds this thickness because they don't all land exactly on the same spot. But then there's separate takes that are actual doubles, and then there's harmonies.
Look away, look away, hey, look away, look away, look away, look away. Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Will the war is just begun? We look away, look away, look away, hey.
All right, so that's the vocal, and there are, well, yeah, so let's go through them. Sorry, on the mixer side still. So I've got the Jack Joseph Puig JJP plug here. It's just, this is sort of a thing that I like a lot about the Wave stuff. It's kind of set and forget. They have really nice presets, and this doesn't, I didn't really work on this much at all, because when Petri had done the tracking, he had set some here, and this basically brings up a little bit of the high end and a little presence, sort of made it a very good starting point for me to mix them. And what I normally do is I have a master vocal bus, then I have a bus for my leads and bus for my harmonies, and like doubles and ad-libs, or they can even have separate buses if there are more of them. So I can quickly change the levels between the main vocal parts like leads and backing vocals. These all, well, most of them have the very similar settings of the JJP vocal plugin, and then the lead doubles have somewhat limited like low end cutout more than and the actual lead sound, and then they have been stereo spread as well. But there's not that much strange things going on there. Just and then we have these vocal answers. They are here. And those answers are frequency range or band limited quite a lot, because they're just supposed to come through a little bit there. Haha, many buses, yes. Okay, so if you have specific questions, feel free to hit me. I'll try and answer them. It's hard for me to go to exactly what you want to know, kind of specifics, but I'll be happy to try. And also, it's been a while since I actually was working on this project, so some of the stuff I've, well, forgot, but you know, I have to actually refresh my memory as well doing this. There's quite a lot of effects on this whole project. Starting that effect you might recognize. I tried to insert some stuff here and there that are from my old tracks, and that one of those bangs, well, there's a crash and there's a couple of other bangs as well, but it's from Sandstorm actually. And all of the Eurovision songs had various things that were like directly from my old tracks, like samples or sort of signature type of things. Shocker, I was about 20, 19 or so when I started making my own music. Nice. Okay, so I gotta take a look at the Discord. The welcome page should be fine to post on, but I'll when I show the video of, I'll take a look. Yeah, hold on, bear with me. This track took about, well, from the beginning to master, like a month and a half, but like making the actual track around the original vocal took maybe, I want to say a week of on and off sessions. And then basically I was fine-tuning it with Sebastian and took some back and forth also, while Petri Lowland Alanko didn't do much on this track directly, but I was basically sparring a lot of stuff with him as well. And when he recorded the vocals, so at the time, by the time the vocals were recorded, the track was sort of done. It's just waiting for the new vocals. And after I decided sort of on the style and on some of the key elements, it didn't take that long. Which for me was actually interesting because sometimes I take a lot of time. All right, Cyrus, maybe then the general will do it that way. And sorry guys. So one of the key things in the initial original track was this piano thing. And I got so hooked on it while I was working on the demo, like the electronic version, that I actually ended up keeping a good bit of it. I just basically did editing. And all of these bits are from the full track that had the piano stuff almost like this. But so like here, for instance, I used it, I doubled it and added a so at this time there's that. But also the original piano. So the piano was a key part from the original, as was obviously the vocal. Then in this breakdown, the original had drums, and I didn't, well, I use the drums, but they are quite buried, sort of, they are analog or acoustic drums. And there's a little bit of, here goes. And I took all the single hits of those original drums and I made a little bit more, this sort of a half tempo thing, but a little bit more energy than the original had.
When
Andy, hi. And here, where's this from? This is from my track called Ranta. And again, one of the things that I hid here in plain sight, starting right now.
That feels so different, and I don't understand. I didn't see this one coming. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds?
Believe me or not, as well here, this beat starts. I had to think about something for me to do, and perhaps for us to all to do when we do this live. So, especially in the last part of the track, when we did the live Eurovision thing, we were all clapping, and it's just so simple. It's basically whatever, the same as We Will Rock You or something, but there's like, and that's why I did. That's why.
How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds?
And we got some people clapping with us, so that was cool. All right. And so here is a huge pile of effects, and I think I went a little overboard, but I'll play this, these effects. When the beat is going on that you just heard, so if we do the kick, and then the last bit of build, there's so many sweep and pitch ups. So somebody smart would have probably done that with like 2 effects that are perfect, but I built it from, I don't know, like 4 or 5 uplifting, you know, noise sweeps, and then there's 2 or 3 pitch bend ups that go towards the drop. So yeah. Then full drum works, if we go here, let's do all the drums, percussion, loops, claps. And so I have the acoustic drums here. They are still sort of under everything, but a good bit of loop stuff. So, if you take a close look there, I often do a lot of single drum or single percussion audio editing, and of course also drum loops. there's so many of these that I don't know if there's any point going through them like one at a time. And one of the things that I was laughing at myself here and there when I was working on the thing, and then when I was on the Eurovision stage, believe me or not, that thing there is a combo of loops that are actually originally like 140 BPM, and they are from quite banging hard trance or whatever you would want to call that. And for some reason I felt that I needed to have that kind of a, I don't know, shizness in the background to add some and so bass. I would say that that bass arp there, or the higher part of it, is quite typical for my stuff, especially back in the day. We have 3 subs that are all basically doing the same thing. If I'll just find them there, and they all have some sort of shaper box thing on them. I've used over the years a thing called Kickstart. I've used LFO Tool. What else? And then there was a Vengeance. I don't remember what that was called, but that was also doing a ducking thing. And now I've pretty much only used this thing, Shaper Box, and now the Shaper Box 2 by Cableguys. And it's really, really cool when you can duck certain frequencies, don't have to duck some at all, or you can only duck them, you know, a certain amount. And mainly I use this for just doing my kick drums or making kick drums some space. So I'll duck the low end of a bass line, for instance, so that it goes to 0 where the kick lands, but then it's great for lead sounds and pad sounds and whatnot, where you want their sort of almost full frequency range, but then you just want that space for the kick. And when the kick hits, and if you have taken down or used the ducking, say under 250 Hertz or 300 Hertz, and then nothing else is ducking above that, so the kick, when it hits, it actually masks the low end of that sound missing at that point. So it nicely creates more headroom, but you don't actually feel that you're missing out on too much. And so now these are, for instance, just straight notes. And then the shaper box on, I have under 299 Hertz in this one. Everything is ducking 100%, and then over that, nothing is ducking, because I like the whatever. Well, the frequencies above it that you hear them. There's another similar thing. They're all basically doing the same. And This one is like a 16th note arpeggio. And again, the kick 1, 2, 3, 4, they are ducking so that it creates space. And then if you'd want to, this would be full ducking all the frequencies, but I like you to hear the high end, but now only basically the first note is ducked. Sausage Gaming, thank you. Wow, awesome. And then I have this rhythmic bass thing here as well. With the other bass combo, you don't really hear it that well, but there's the sort of attacks, and then I think it brings some rhythm to it. And again, these are pads, those chords that are just pumping to the beat like crazy. Oh, I wonder if you heard this one in a breakdown. That would be the Sandstorm string as well. And yes, somebody said the piano is kind of 90s style, freestyle style. And it's sort of by design or on purpose, because when I heard the original Cebu's demo, and it had piano, but it didn't have it like, you know, fast or repetitive like this, but I like the piano sound a lot. And then when I thought of Eurovision, I didn't want to go full on cheesy. I hope this is not cheesy, but I also did know that I need to be somewhat of a, just, you know, the track needs to be commercially you know, worthy, radio play worthy, you know, Spotify worthy or something, whatever you want to call it. And so the combo of the piano and the vocal was sort of the first thing that I wanted to have, like add to the original piano and add more rhythmic stuff to it. And that's just, like you said, it's kind of, it's sort of old school. No, it's not a Korg M1. It's actually, you caught me. I don't know which piano it is, but it is most likely one of the contact pianos by in like complete package from Native Instruments, because it's played by the producer or of the demo with Cebu, Petri Sommer, and I know, I mean, he's a virtuoso in piano playing, so he's probably using the contact stuff. Like if you listen to it, it doesn't sound like an M1, it sounds like an actual piano. And I have in the beginning here, this is, hold on. These added ones underneath are Waves Rhapsody, Grand Rhapsody. I added those to support the whole thing. And then there's a 303 sort of type of saw sound there. What else? What else can I tell you guys about this? Let me see. One of the things that I use in a lot of my tracks and is needed in a lot of my tracks when the arrangement is quite busy. Let me dig up the synth and then here. So I'll play the synth bus and the vocals only. Let's do that. Let's see how is.
Look away.
So
Look away. Look away.
this plugin is Waves C6 and it's sidechain mode. And what I'm doing with this one is I have just one frequency band active, and it is here around 2K, 2000 Hertz. And what it does is it takes a trigger from the vocal bus, and when it hears vocal certain level, it actually ducks down this frequency range around 2 kilohertz of this synth bus, so as to make room for like the upper frequencies of Cebu's sound and some like sibilance or whatever comes through better. And you're not supposed to sort of hear it working, but it actually gives a little bit of room among, if you listen to just these synths here, there's a lot of stuff in a vocal range. So I have the vocal loud enough to be on top, but also I've carved a little bit of a frequency dip or in the 2000 range so that the vocal comes through better.
Look away, look away, look away, hey, look away, look away, look away, look away, is it in my head?
And you can do that same thing with, you know, if you have a massive synth pad sound, but you want to play a lead synth on top of it, or you want to play a guitar sound or anything sort of lead sound-ish that you want to have on top of it, you can use something like the C6. Or I use quite a lot of a thing called Track Spacer by Waves Factory these days as well. TT Lumi rating me. Awesome. Right away. Okay, so I think that was that. I'll see if I had something else. Let's see the kick right quick. There we have the kick and soloed. So I have a transient master on top of this. Do you hear the difference? This is now off, and halfway, after a couple of kicks, I'll turn it on. So it adds the initial attack, the initial tick of the kick drum, and I have this only at 25%, and I'm actually taking the sustain down 25%, which just basically shortens the kick tail. It doesn't really affect the body too much, and then sort of tightens it. Yeah, the Master 303, yes. You can do that, for instance, with sort of any dynamic EQ and sidechain multiband compressor. And what I also use is that I use in Logic, you can do the dual mono setup. So if I do that and then I can selectively duck more from the center band of a mid-side setup as well. So then say the wide stuff plays exactly like they are, but then I'll duck the center a little more because the vocal often is, or the lead vocal is in the center. So you can get away with a little more ducking if the sides don't change, but then yeah, it's sort of a delicate balance because then you can mess up the stereo image as well. Cool. So we, yeah, our sort of goals and feelings, we wanted to make an awesome dance track with like some message, but then for the occasion especially, not to point fingers and not to preach or nothing like that, nothing too I don't know, heavy. And it was really cool to be able to sort of, at least we feel that we accomplished that, and the track is good because of it or regardless of it. So I don't know. And then my challenge definitely mixing this was the biggest one. Like there's quite a lot of stuff, and I can only blame myself for it. But to make every bit that is in there meaningful, yet not to make it sound too full or too crowded or too whatever messy. That I spend a lot of time, and also my mastering engineer Henkka was really kind enough to for me to send pre-master sort of final mixes to him, and he would say like, well, this and that you could fix before master so that we don't have to do it there. And then still when we did the master, I actually took my multi-track or the stems to him, and he still tweaked some of the stems when mastering. So it took a good bit of work. I've been surprised how well this was received in my sets, because I was in my own bubble, or we were in our own bubble making the track, but then also doing all kinds of promo for the Eurovision Song Contest and whatnot. And I thought that it was too pop or something like that. But then when I made the extended version and I've been playing this out in my sets, people have been really digging it apparently. And for my huge surprise too, like even in US and Canada, countries that don't know much about Eurovision Song Contest, Canada maybe a touch more, but people have been pretty much here and there singing along as well, which is quite cool. So sort of, even though we didn't do really that well in the song contest itself, but as a track and a production, I've definitely sort of been happy with the outcome. And so I have a highlight here, and it might not look like much, but it was really cool. So we did this pre-parties for Eurovision Song Contest in Amsterdam, in Madrid, and in London. And the Amsterdam one was huge. There was probably like 5,000 people there in this quite big arena type of event venue. London was small. It was a small club, couple of hundred people, and then the Madrid one was in the middle there, maybe 1,500, couple of thousand people. And I got a little video clip for you guys, and I get goosebumps still every time I see and hear this. And this is just whatever, less than a minute, I think. And right after we actually stopped the actual track for that crowd there. Let's see how this goes.
Well, Look away, hey, no.
Yep. So that was my man Sebastian and I in Madrid in Spain, and I was about 2,000 people singing to the track, and I don't know how to explain it better, and it's not like I don't know or feel that my music is great, but that was one of the first times we got to perform it live, and I had no idea because this was not a regular release. It was a Eurovision Song Contest release, and I had no idea how the promo had worked and what kind of crowds the Eurovision people would be, and they were freaking nuts, and like you heard, they definitely knew the lyrics, so it was quite cool. So, gotta see if I had forgotten something. Oh, so next Monday I will do a track breakdown again. Which track would you like to see broken down like this? I have all the tracks from second, third, and fourth album, and all my remixes that I have done since 2003. The first album, I don't have too many in the original form. Like last week, I showed you guys Out of Control, but just a couple of bits of it because I don't have the original project files anymore. If you'd get to vote or get to pick which track I'm going to do this kind of breakdown for you next Monday, which one would it be? Okay, all right, I ran and Feel the Beat. Well, Feel the Beat is kind of obvious. Well, I'm gonna wait for a couple more. My mix of Synesthesia I don't have. That was made with my then producer J16 in his studio, and yeah, those early projects I pretty much don't have. Sorry. Okay, so we got, I'm gonna write these down so I don't forget. We've got I Ran, got Surrender, Timeless, somebody said. Okay, Feel the Beat and Sandstorm, they are out of the question for now. I promise you I will do them at some point as well. Do I have a mix of my own track next to you? Grimster, I did that last week actually. So Superman and music, those I also do have. Let's see. How about we pick. Let's do Timeless, Superman, and music. Those I'm gonna put up on, or if there is a. All right, so Grimster, I'm gonna. Okay, oh, hold on. Yes, so you can watch the VOD from last week. Okay, my game was, you know what, let me see. Because Superman and Timeless are both quite new, so I'm gonna drop one of them. I'm gonna do Superman, or I'm gonna do, which one? I'm gonna do Timeless, music, and my game. How about that, guys? And if yours didn't get picked, my apologies, but I will continue doing these, and I'll do 3 every week. And I'm going to, during this stream still, I'm going to put up a vote on my Twitter, and I'm going to drop a link here. And also, during this, I'm going to check out if there was something with the Discord that wasn't working. Cool. But so I'm gonna hop onto the next thing here. I did this video for Cableguys of my use of their bundle that is called Shaperbox 2. And I don't get money from them, but I have gotten some free bundles to give out for you guys. So that's my disclaimer. Yes, I use their stuff, but I paid initially for their stuff, and they've been kind enough to they gave me a pre-copy of the Shaperbox 2 after I earlier on bought Volume Shaper, and then later on their Shaperbox 1, and then they gave me the Shaperbox 2. An amazing piece of software, and I did use it, and I do use it still, and I did use it before, way before I even had any contact with the Peep. So that's that. But this time we're gonna give away 3 bundles of Shaperbox 2, and now I'll play you guys a video that shows what I do with Shaperbox. This is going to be later on YouTube as well, and probably in bits and pieces on Cableguys socials as well. So I'm going to hit play. Let's see. Hopefully this works fine. It did earlier. Hi, my name is Darude. I'm in my studio in Finland, and I'm an crazy user of Shaperbox 2 in its various forms. Most projects of mine have dozens and dozens of instances, and I gotta be honest, mainly probably for like sidechain ducking type of stuff, say you know, making room for the kick or making the pumping sound and vibe on anything and everything that needs it. It both helps me mixing, creating headroom for the kick, and also to get a certain vibe, whether we do, you know, I'm doing tight pumping on pads or bass, or whether I'm cleaning, making room for a big fat lead that needs the body, but still mixing wise, I need to give room for the kick and some other stuff. So I can selectively duck certain frequencies and so on. I've got a project here that I'm actually working on right now. It doesn't have very good name yet. It's just 909 Drums Techno #2, and I don't exactly know what it's going to be like. But I've got a couple of cases of that I can show different things that I've done with Shaperbox. And so the first one is this noise sweep. I've got a tape delay plugin on it, and then I've got Shaperbox after that. And as you can see on the screen, that I've just automated in the region automation so that quite in the end of the sample, Shaperbox kicks in. That just automated the master mix, and it sounds something like this. This is clean. And now the tape delay is there just to give it a tail so that that sample doesn't end right there. And then I just wanted to give that rhythmic element to the after. Very simple. And the Shaperbox is just full range, and one of the presets, I believe, or very close to. Then I have this, this is sort of a techno-y kick and sort of delayed kick bass line done with, or from the kick as well. And so here I have it at this part very much low cut. And then here we go. Okay, so if we take out the actual kick, we have this somewhat low cut, but also Shaperbox ducked kick, which in the low end, it is taking out the most, and it's 100% wet mix. And the mids, it's a little steeper and not as much at all, because I want to hear the kick, and then in a high end, it doesn't do anything. Like, instead of having just a delay on top of, on the kick and having it all mushy and muddy and whatever, this is making room for it, but yet getting the sort of, I don't know, industrial techno-y feeling to to the kick and the bass line it creates. So that's it. And then later on, I've actually bounced that delayed tail, and I've made a bass line out of it with adding Izotope trash and distorting it, and that sounds like this, but it is bounced with originally with the shaper box, and then it sounds like this. And as you can see, I've compiled it of various bits of the delayed kick. So this is a loop that I want to use in this project, and I've got a shaper box that does things to it. There's if we listen to the loop without the shaper box, as you can hear, there's a little bass thing happening, and I don't want that. So what I've done is I've just ducked something from the low end like this, then also done a similar thing in a narrow range there, well, only 40% though, and then nothing from the high end. Okay, so now if you listen to it on and bypass, you know, you can hear the difference. That's just done with volume automation, right? Then I have another option here, which could be better in some cases not, but I've used the filter and like that. That gets rid of the bass note there even more. Not only did I want to get rid of the bass note just in general because I don't need it there, but also it's in a wrong key, so that's why I wanted to sort of specifically target it with this. It's really nice cleanup tool as well. And it's another loop that I've cleaned up with Shaperbox quite a lot. So if we look at, or actually, let's listen to it without first. There we go. It's just a loop from it's a loop from an Audio Tent sample pack. Actually, just straight out there. I'm using a little bit of shuffle in this track. So here's what I'm doing to get this thing to shuffle as well. So and off. Now this is way straighter. And then that on, so the timing just delays that 2 and 4 there. So not only that, but I use the crush as well. Nothing, you know, cool here, just crushing. And so without crush, with crush, so it adds a little bit of body and, I don't know, presence, or makes it a little louder or something. Don't know exactly. You know, it just sounds better to me. And then the last thing is it's cleaning this up a little bit because the knock that is here, I don't want it. I've used the filter to get rid of the knock in the low end part of that. Another loop. Really dig the feeling of it. Groovy, funky, whatever you want to call it. I've done some width, crush, and volume on it. And then if we look at the volume, this is on 16ths. And like you can see from the curve, I'm just ducking it down towards the end. So I'm basically trimming the notes to get a little cleaner. It has like this ongoing noise kind of whatever thing there. So I just wanted to get rid of that. For some other purpose, that could be cool, but not here. I like it cutting a little bit, but I've also used a compressor, which I find genius on this. And I've just turned it on, fiddled with some of the parameters, and it just, while we first take out a little bit of the ongoing noise, this adds a little bit of body or volume to the whole loop. We could turn it off. It's a subtle difference, but it's there. And then with the crush, so here's without, here's with. So this kind of feels like it adds a little bit more of a constant noise back to it, which when I take the volume shaper and clean it up a little is good. But with the crush, it's actually better to clean it up a little bit because it adds too much noise. Well, for this purpose, in my opinion. And then I have width, where in the low end under 248 Hertz, it does nothing. And then above that, I'm doing 150% wide. So it's just a little bit of added width. And all of these are, in this case, quite minor tweaks, but add to the single tracks, and then in combo add to the width and I don't know, crunch, body, this and that of the whole thing. And here's what it sounds there. I'm using it sort of creatively and mixing wise all the time, everywhere, and I'm just very much in love with this plugin. One use case was I made a drum and bass track that I initially made long straight notes with actually the Sub 37 as well, but then later on there was so much editing and something else going on in the wave audio file that I did not want to re-record it note by note. So I basically put a volume shaper on it, and I made it sound like the whole thing would have been made of pulsating MIDI notes versus straight MIDI notes, and it actually worked quite well. You know, it adds a lot of energy when it's not just long straight notes, but you know, all the time pulsing. I've also used the cleanup stuff for instance, I had a really great snare drum that I wanted to use, a good sample, but it had a ring-in frequency that wasn't going to fit, and then when I tuned the sample up and down, the sample sound changed so much that I didn't want to use it like that. So then I used the filter to cut that frequency out, and I just got the long sort of noise rattle of the snare and a usable sample like that. Also, one of my key things that I do with this, and some people might laugh at it, some not, I don't know. I have one in my master. I use this as a visual aid. Like I have, for instance, Izotope's Insight 2, which I use for metering, you know, frequency inspecting and stuff like that. But then I use this often in this way. To check how my master waveform looks like. I am Darude. I'm in my studio using Shaperbox. Loving it. Thank you, Cableguys, for one of my most used tools. Keep them coming. All right, so didn't know exactly when that was gonna end. I didn't remember that edit. All right, guys, I hope you like that, and I've truly find that probably, I don't know, 20 or more instances in pretty much every set that I have, or every project that I have, and mainly I'm using it for sidechain ducking, which is sort of the most common use. But there's a lot more into Shaperbox, and I highly recommend checking it out. They have very nice videos on their YouTube, and I can quickly also show here. The volume is where you can either select from the pre-programmed curves, some, you know, whatever you want of those, or you could just draw your own stuff. You can go and whatever you want to do. It takes a little while to get used to the drawing tools, but once you nail that down, it's simple. And now, for instance, this volume just follows the volume exactly how you draw it here, and you can set the length and or the divisions, and that's really, really cool for repetitive tweaking of whatever. And like I showed quickly in the video, there's a compressor now that you can set on each of these 3 bands. And so for instance, sometimes when you do ducking with, do heavy ducking, the sound also gets quieter. But then you put the compressor on and it can add a good bit of the body back, but you still have the ducking that you wanted for that thing. So, and then the other module, I guess you would call, there's widener. So you can control the sound width from 0, i.e. mono, to 200% widening, and you can make that work over time. The same thing. They have a pan one, which is of course the same thing, but you can do like an auto panning thing for, you know, over 1 bar, over 16th note, over whatever is the longest one here, like 32 bars. So if you have a build-up, you could make it go left and right and left and right and end on somewhere. Anyway, and then you have filter. Filter is also quite self-explanatory, but when you talk about the filter in the context of time, that gets pretty cool when you can select different kinds of filters that sound different. Some scream, some are clean, some are, you know, steeper and whatnot. That you can do quite a lot of things with that as well, and also on 3 bands, and it gets quite complicated and mind-boggling very quickly. The time thing, I showed a little example there. You could do sort of repeaters and whatever, or you could just do like hold on, let me see if I can, yeah, so you could do like a vinyl slowdown effect or whatever you want with that. And then the crush is the latest addition to the whole thing, and I find this really cool. So it's a bit crusher effect, and you can do this rhythmically as well, or you could just do the whole frequency or the whole length the same, or I just sort of got you know, what's the equivalent? Cross-eared, I guess you would say, if not cross-eyed. Even thinking of the possibilities of tweaking of all of these to, you know, to their all possibilities that there are. And I'm by no means even, you know, the master of this thing. I just love using it, and there's so many things that you can do, and they have very extensive preset library for that too. And also you can also browse people's uploaded presets. So they have a cloud for that. So highly recommended. And 3 of these are going to be given away between the peeps who jumped on my Discord and left their whatever mark there. The Master 303 MIDI trigger, you know what, I haven't done that, but yes, you can. It has a MIDI mode as well. You have MIDI switch for, I believe, MIDI switch for all of these preloaded slots. So look, if I for instance, I'll make this a little bigger. This is just my tweak right now, here, and now if I wanted to, that's right here in the first section. So if I wanted to put that on another band, then I could just go there and put it there. Now both of these bands have, well, no, not yet. Now it does. Has that same, but I believe you can trigger these various slots here with different keys. So you could do like a, say, beat repeat thing that goes ding, 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 and then trrr, trrr, or whatnot. Oh, computer screen. I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. That should have been really big for you. Okay, so thank you. I'm just looking at my screen and nothing else. So it has slots here that you can temporarily basically save different tweaks like that, and then if you go to a different different band, different frequency band, like this here. Now this doesn't have anything, but then you can just click here and it picks it right up. And I believe, don't take my word for it, to read your manual when you get it, or go just download the manual. But I think you can MIDI trigger and switch between those different envelopes. But then, I mean, there are different kind of MIDI triggers though with an envelope tool, because you can, I believe the Vengeance one has a MIDI trigger as well, but then that MIDI trigger is actually, doesn't have much to do with the, well, their timing doesn't then apply there, but then you just trigger with the MIDI whenever and however you want. But I'm actually, on the Vengeance one, I haven't used the MIDI there, so I couldn't really say. Solid US Fox 69. How can I use the camera? Because I don't have the gear needed and or the gear in the condition that I could do screen capturing. Trust me, if I could, I would do screen capturing right now, but I have a separate streaming computer and I have an issue with it, and it starts choking really quickly if I do too much graphic intensive work on it. And that's just it for right now. I am working on the situation, and basically a matter of either getting a new computer, getting that fixed, and or couple of other alternatives that I have and I'm working on. But this is the best second scenario I can do, and I understand it might be not exactly what everybody's used to, but this is how we have to do it right now. And I've tried, for instance, the NDI screen capture scan converter app on one computer and use it on the other one. It nicely actually transfers the screen, but it's very, very laggy, and I don't want to use that for that reason. And while I have a fast network and the computers are just, well, directly connected to each other, but I don't know if that's just how the NDI stuff works, or if the lagginess is still because of my streaming computer. Yeah, Dreamweb, it's not for me. It's laggy. It's laggy enough that it pisses me off, so I'd rather do this. Cool. I quickly took a look at the vote, and which we have 6 days to go, but we now have Music in My Game tying at 40% and Timeless at 20%. So that's that. I'm going to take a look at that once or twice before next Monday, and we'll see which track we'll go through next Monday. DJ Amber D, you can, if you want to, you can whisper that link to me, but I know that it's about the computer, and that's just what it is. What it does is that I probably first I'll try to repaste the CPU and GPU. It starts throttling really quickly and then throttles down the CPU. It's a 2015 MacBook Pro quad core, and it should be able to handle this just nice, and for some reason it doesn't, and I don't know if it's the I'm not sure if it's the throttling that I can help with repasting the thermals or not, but I'm going to try that. And then the next thing is obviously getting another computer to do the works. But thank you for the suggestions, and also thank you for your support and understanding with this. Yeah, it has a dedicated graphics card. All right, guys. I'm going to post a couple of links of Look Away on the chat. So that is a link to the music video. Then when we were in Tel Aviv for the Eurovision Song Contest, we did this hotel jam thing and really had a fun afternoon in the lobby of the hotel. That link is a different version of Look Away jammed live in a hotel lobby. And then there's still a Spotify link for the track if you're interested. And I think that is getting to be it. I'm gonna check. I think there was quite a good number of you guys on Discord. And so how about we do this? Hold on, where are we? There. Oh, Cyrus, you're tired. Cyrus is a 24/7 mod of all things Twitch. Yeah, so guys, I'm very thankful for you guys hopping on Discord. I am very sort of aware of it being a, good thing and very popular, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. I simply just haven't had time to get myself familiar with everything yet, but I'm working on it, and I am thinking of trying to expanding some of this streaming stuff to Discord as well. I used IRC back in the day. And so they're overwhelming for me. Cool. How about I get in touch with the 3 people that I half randomly will select here, because there's definitely enough peeps right now, and either during the rest of today for me or tomorrow I'll shoot you guys a message, and then we'll go on with next 3 giveaways next Monday, and we'll see if we'll have some more the next week as well. Hold on. The Master 303. I actually don't have Elgato, but I have I have 2 Blackmagic Design Ultra Studio Mini recorders, and that's of course 2 things going in the laptop, but each should be able to handle that just really easily. Then I have another one. I have the, what is that called again? This box. This one is a USB box. Those 2 are Thunderbolt. Yeah, the Intensity. I've got this as well, but all of them are single things, taking one thing only in, and I need more than one source. And so, but I actually have an ATM Mini coming from Blackmagic Design, where I have 4 sources, and that should help with some stuff, but still it's not the thing that will help with the processing issues on my computer. So I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Join me again on Wednesday. We have a chat thing where I'll talk to you guys. I'll take WhatsApp messages, go through them and comment on them, and call some of you guys. And then I'm gonna do a peer call that at this point is still a secret, but last week I spoke with Andy Moore, the week before that I spoke with Prof, and the week before that I spoke with Mayan for a good bit about all things streaming, lockdown, music production, life, and we'll take questions from you guys as well. And then Friday will be most likely a DJ set, but that's actually, I might have to push that a couple of hours here or there, because I do have a thing that I need to do on Friday, but I'll let you guys know about that later. So thanks so much for joining me, and we are done.
There's something you should know. I can't sing a love song anymore. There's something going on, and I can't turn my back on it anymore. How can we go to sleep at night and lay there in our beds when we know what's going on with the world today? Is it in my head? Am I the only one? Is it in my head? Where the war has just begun. We look away, look There's something in the air.